Hey, welcome back. Today I'm at the Spanish Fort site in New Orleans, Louisiana, in Lake Vista neighborhood. And did you know that in 1878, a Civil War submarine was found at the mouth of Bayou St, which is just right over this levee? So when word got out in April of 1862 that Union troops were coming up the Mississippi River and would capture New Orleans, the operators of the submarine got word of this and they scuttled the submarine in Lake Pontchartrain. So in 1878, excuse me, while dredging Bayou St. John, they actually found the submarine at the mouth of Bayou St. John where it meets Lake Pontchartrain. This is the remnants of the old Spanish fort, and just on the other side of this levee, I'll take you over to Bayou St. John. This is Bayou St. John. And down that way is the lake, and that's where they found the submarine. So they pulled the submarine out in 1878, and they actually put it on display right here at Spanish Fort. The submarine changed locations a few times and eventually ended up at the Louisiana State Museum in Baton Rouge, where it's on display today. All right, we're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we're about to walk into the Capitol Park Museum and go check out the Civil War sub that they pulled out of Bayou St. John. There it is, buddy.
Hey, Dad, it's a big submarine.
Yeah, buddy, look at that.
How did that get here?
All right, there it is, the submarine that they pulled out of Lake Pontchartrain at the mouth of Bayou St. John. small it is, buddy. The Pioneer, built in New Orleans in 1862, was a Confederate privateer submarine with a 3-man crew. It was built in 1861-1862 timeframe by John K. Scott, Robert F. Barrow, Baxter Watson, and James R. McClintock. It was commissioned by the Confederate government to cruise the high seas and rivers and destroy any vessels opposed to the Southern War for Independence. Its physical description is here, quoted from its official Confederate letter of marque. It says the vessel was built in New Orleans in the year 1862, has a propeller, is 34 feet in length, 4 feet in breadth, is 4 feet deep. She measures about 4 tons, has round conical ends, and is painted black. Across the Mississippi River at Leeds Foundry, steam gauge manufacturers James McClintock and Baxter Watson constructed a submarine to use against Union gunboats patrolling Lake Pontchartrain. They would eventually partner with Horace L. Hunley, a wealthy lawyer and customs agent, to build a submarine with a menacing, streamlined appearance. After the war, McClintock described the vessel and his partners christened the Pioneer. He goes on to say, "She was made of iron 1/4 inch thick. The boat was of a cigar shape 30 feet long and 4 feet in diameter. This boat demonstrated to us that we could construct a boat that would move at will in any direction desired and at any distance from the surface. As we were unable to see objects passing under the water, the boat was steered by compass." In March of 1862, the Pioneer's owners were granted a letter of marque by the Confederate government. A month later, New Orleans fell to the West Gulf blockading squadron commanded by David Glasgow Farragut. In the ensuing turmoil, the Pioneer was scuttled in the New Basin Canal. The history of the submarine can be traced to 1878 when it was removed from Lake Pontchartrain and placed on the levee by a dredge crew working near the mouth of Bayou St. John. For years after its recovery, the boat lay neglected on the lakeshore. By 1895, it was placed on display at Spanish Fort, where it became a prominent landmark. A period of neglect followed, during which the submarine was taken from its wooden stand at the fort and left lying in the weeds. A remaining propeller blade was removed by vandals, and large areas of loss appeared along the lower hull. Later, in 1908, it was moved to Camp Nichols' Confederate home on Bayou St. John. In 1942, it was acquired by the State Museum and moved to Jackson Square. Some years later, the museum transferred it into the lower Pontalba building, where it was featured in a defense exhibit. It was eventually moved under the Presbyterian Arcade in 1957 before being transferred to the conservatory in December of 1999. The Louisiana State Museum submarine once thought to have an identity. It was believed to be the Pioneer, a vessel built in New Orleans by a group led by Horace Hunley, a wealthy lawyer and customs agent. However, recent findings in the National Archives have proven otherwise. In June of 1861, months prior of work on the Pioneer, a New Yorker named E.P. Dewar traveled to New Orleans. During his visit, Dewar learned from a woman schoolteacher that a submersible to be used against the Mississippi squadron blockading the river was being constructed. He reported his findings to the Navy in Washington. He says, "She tells me that the rebels in New Orleans are constructing an infernal vessel to destroy the Brooklyn or any vessel blockading the mouth of the Mississippi. From her description, she is to be used as a projectile with a sharp iron or steel-pointed prow to perforate the bottom of the vessel and then explode. She says that it is being constructed by competent engineers. I put implicit reliance in the correctness of this information." If this letter refers to the museum submarine, it would make it the earliest known Civil War era submersible. While the Pioneer was described as a cigar-shaped 30 feet long and 4 feet in diameter, the New Orleans submarine is shaped more like a pumpkin seed and is 20 feet long, 3 feet wide, and 6 feet deep. The submarine still has a propeller shaft and gear that were part of its propulsion system. It was powered by 2 people who either hand-cranked or pedaled the propeller. In the bow of the vessel were controls for a third man to adjust the diving planes and the bow and stern rudders. There is evidence of a sophisticated system to turn the bow and stern rudders simultaneously. This submarine is now on display at the Capitol Park Museum in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.